Hey, internet friends. I hope you're all well. Lately, I have this inability to move forward and create something new, to comment on anything, to produce something meaningful or educational or even informative. I've been making videos for years, falling down one rabbit hole, stumbling into the next, and getting stuck in others. Y'all know I'm not the type to crank out daily content. I do maybe 3 or 4 videos a month. So I know how to not get burnt out. That's not it. I'm not burnt out. I'm in awe, but not in a warm and fuzzy feeling kind of way. Not like I just watched my baby take her first steps kind of awe. It's the kind of awe where I see the world around me changing at such a rapid pace, fueled by fear and by deceit. And I'm in such awe that I'm just speechless. I'm not sure what to say anymore. Maybe it's because it feels like we're suspended in this in-between, this purgatory, this stagnant yet totally accelerated state of affairs, where everything is a result of the latest mandate of the COVIDian cold, a boogeyman that's proven quite useful for our overlords to dangle in front of the cattle, keeping them mesmerized, idle, distracted, obedient. Their greatest mechanism of control is politicizing every single matter, dividing the population over this or that, ending long-standing friendships, splitting up families. I read somewhere that this political division is so effective because the importance of feeling, getting in your feels, having all this emotion has been amplified over the last few decades. And folks emotionally attach their personal belief system to their political party. So when someone goes to attack their political party, a person's brain registers it as an attack on themselves, on their personal belief system. Even though your political party is largely, in my opinion, let me just go ahead and offend everyone who still believes in the political system, regardless of whether you're left or right, I believe politics are just an illusion of choice. You were given these choices, donkey or elephant. They didn't spawn organically out of the giant abyss of freedom and liberty, and for you then to choose to keep your country great, to keep your children safe, to protect your rights. No, it's clear that all reason and logic has been thrown into the wind when it comes to politics these days. And what reason and logic has been replaced with is like a fever, just a swell of emotion. They've been able to politicize everything to the point of mass mind control so effectively because, I can speculate. They have access to all this data now, right? Psychological operations ain't no thing when you can pretty much predict human behavior from looking at data patterns from internet and phone usage. And you get all these responses to all this different stimuli. I always get comments, emails asking me what side of the political spectrum I fall on, who I'm voting for, who I'm supporting in this race or that race. If you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have given you a much different answer than today. And maybe in 5 years, I'll give you a much different answer than I'm giving you now. I'm just giving myself space to grow. But today, I don't believe in politics. I don't believe there's a political solution to any of the problems we face because political puppets created the problems in the first place. Yeah, I do in general prefer conservative politics because they're not cheerleading injecting 4-year-olds with hormone blockers. And I don't know, throwing dollar bills during Drag Kids Story Hour. But it's only a matter of time because the conservatism of today is liberalism light. With a little more, conservatism of today is just the same thing, but a little more enthusiasm about bombing kids in the Middle East for the forever wars. My political beliefs can be briefly summarized with the following statements. I got some notes here I'll be reading from. No more paying taxes to pedophile politicians. All these ladies and fellas who got caught up over in Bohemian Grove or Franklin Credit Union or the blackmail of Epstein Island, y'all are the OG den-dos of the most vile variety, and you shouldn't ever receive a single cent. Furthermore, I believe in congressional term limits, as well as ending insider trading, since apparently insider trading is totally legal and kosher in Congress. I also believe that the Federal Reserve is a parasite on our country. It is not a government institution in any sense, but instead a private banking system with no allegiance to our country. Also, like I said before, left, right are wings of the same bird. The political paradigm is a trap. We've had enough voter fraud madness to demonstrate that voting matters very little when the whole system is corrupt. And finally, I'm obviously against medical mandates dictated by the government because there's too much lobbying and corruption for me to believe that the incentives are genuine concern for the well-being of the population. Speaking of medical mandates, this video is all over the place. It's not really a video, it's not really a podcast. It's like I called you and I wanted to talk and I got your voicemail. And a lot of you have been emailing me saying that your job is requiring certain mandates with the threat of being fired. We all know which mandates I'm talking about. We have this key date looming ahead, October 15th being the deadline for most of these corporate imposed mandates. And I'm really sorry if you're having to go through that. I know it must be hard. You're faced with a very difficult decision. For a lot of people in the US, losing their job means losing access to healthcare, health insurance for their family, their children. It's amazing to me that we've reached this point that they're imposing these mandates for our health. And should someone refuse, they not only lose their income, but they lose access to, quote, affordable healthcare for their entire family. Not even a year later, nurses and doctors who were referred to as heroes for working throughout 2020 are now they're first in line for the chopping block should they not comply. All the time, I see influencers offering both judgment and advice on what you should do should you find yourself in such a precarious position. Some say, let them fire you. Stand up for what you believe in. It's the only way to fight back. Be unemployed. Go live in a van and eat beanie weenies out of a can until this whole thing clears up. Others say just go along with the mandate. You can't push back and beat the whole system if you have no resources to do so. Me, what do I think? I speak from a place of privilege, of course, because no one is forcing me to do anything. I am effectively self-employed. However, certainly there are creative solutions to every problem, solutions that have not yet been enacted. Unions, lawsuits, malicious compliance, I don't know. I'm a mom now, so I see things a little differently than I did before, and I keep coming back to the idea that our children will suffer the consequences of our compliance. This slow boil. It started with destroying the expectation of privacy years ago, where we put our entire lives on social media, plastering our babies' faces across screens to strangers before our children can even understand what it means to have every single moment of your life documented online. While we all carry around these devices which track our every location, purchases, insecurities, our desires, privacy will just be... It'll just be like this dusty relic of the past for the next generation. The future generation will never know a time when Big Brother wasn't watching. And now, pair the destruction of privacy with medical tyranny. What do we got? We've got passports uploaded to phones to be scanned so you can sit down at a restaurant, so you can work to pay for food and shelter. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, hon. Trust the science, hon. I don't even want to speculate on what's to come. Because that's reality creation at this point. I'm very wary of reality creation by just speaking it into existence. I just have to conclude that this moment in time isn't about what you're personally willing to endure, but what kind of future you want your children to inherit. When I go to the store or when I go anywhere, really, I see children, really young children, out with their parents, and some of those children are masked. I saw one today at Costco. We're talking like toddlers who are riding up in the front of the shopping cart. I mean, I barely see any in my town, but way more the closer I get to Atlanta, and their parent is reminding them not to pull it down off their face, or they're constantly adjusting the thing accordingly as they amble throughout the store, and it freaks me out. My own child, who is about to be 10 months old, she will not socially interact with anyone wearing a mask. She just won't do it. She doesn't understand it, nor should she. She is totally dependent on your facial expressions and seeing your lips move and deciding how she's going to navigate any interaction. And if I sit here and I think about it too long, It makes me sad because I cannot imagine the damage that parents are inflicting upon their own children. We're talking socially, emotionally, developmentally. And these parents genuinely believe with all their hearts that they are doing the right thing by following the advice of politicians who they couldn't be more corrupt. They couldn't be more morally and spiritually bankrupt. They don't even follow their own medical advice. And this advice, this information, it's forever changing. The goalpost is moving down an endless field to oblivion. It was never about your health. What will it take for people to see this? And when confronted with this information, this reality, I noticed that people, they just double down on their stance. But it doesn't make the truth disappear. It just, I don't know. Do they really think they're taking the moral high ground by being obedient? And are you ready for your boosters? Your boosters you're going to take multiple times a year forever? As I said in my last video, none of us have ever seen something like this play out in our lifetimes. The stage is being set, the pieces moved into place. Every day, the flow of information more and more controlled under the guise of combating misinformation. Build back better implies destruction of all that was. I'm not saying it's unavoidable or that the situation is hopeless. Defeat is for losers, and we're not losers. I'm just saying, they've already given us their plans. They've already told us what they're gonna do. So what's our move? What's your move? I know this whole ramble wasn't succinct or to the point or anything like that, but I hope you don't mind that this wasn't a research piece. It was just a collection of observations. Somewhere along the road, I'm pretty sure I became succinct and to the point in videos out of sheer necessity because, well, my thoughts are a mile a minute up there, swirling around in my noggin. Let me know if you've ever heard this, but I read somewhere that a good portion of people have no inner monologue. Can you imagine not having any thoughts until you're prompted in conversation or by task or something like that? I can't imagine. Do we pity the NPC or are we jelly? I can never decide. Though a little peace and quiet might be nice sometimes. Let me know if you enjoy these types of videos, like semi-stream of consciousness type of videos. I have more ground I want to cover in the future, but I'll stop here for now. Let me know what you think, internet friends. You know, I always enjoy reading your comments and just getting your insight. As always, thank you so much for listening, for subscribing, and for supporting my channel on Patreon, where you have early access to videos and private group chats. Bye. I'm gonna go make dinner now.